Just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, that's when it would get the most weird.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2018 found footage horror sequel, The Blackwell Ghost 2. The film is directed by Turner Clay, who also stars in the film. And we follow Turner, who we met in the first film, The Blackwell Ghost, which is a film that greatly impressed me in many, many ways, being a found footage fan myself. I love the authenticity of it. I love the fact that it just felt really genuine. It felt like someone was doing a ghost investigation and just filming it. I just really loved the authenticity of it, and it didn't go for like cheap scares or anything like that. So I've been quite looking forward to checking out the sequel, and indeed I will hopefully get round to watching all the Blackwell Ghost films. I do believe there is about 8 or 9 of them now, so I've no idea if this guy Turner Clay has made them all or if other people have kind of joined in. I suppose time will tell. But I know they've got a fairly decent reputation in the found footage, family, I suppose. So this time round, after the events of the first film, Turner goes back to making his amateur films, he used to kind of make amateur like zombie films, or low budget zombie films. So he goes back to doing that. He makes a low-budget zombie film that does reasonably well, actually. He gets invited to show it at festivals, that kind of stuff. And then he gets drawn back in to the Blackwell Ghost mystery because he learns about some new information about Mrs. Blackwell following some clues that he is kind of given. So he returns to the house to try and capture some paranormal footage. And he's in a bit more of a rush this time because he learns that the house has actually gone up for sale. So potentially the new owners won't let him kind of film at his will there, that kind of stuff. So he's got to try and catch this footage fairly quickly. Right, what are my thoughts on The Blackwell Ghost 2? Well, this is, if you like it, this could actually be, because the first one was only about an hour long. I think this one's a little bit longer. I think it's about an hour and 10, 15 minutes long, something like that. But, you could place the first two films together and they wouldn't feel like they would feel seamless, I suppose. It was like putting on like a comfortable pair of shoes, if you like watching this. I really do like this guy Turner, the guy that makes these films and stars in them. I don't think I've seen anybody feel as authentic for a found footage film or as genuine. It just feels and seems like a normal guy who is fascinated by this subject matter and really wants to kind of capture, some really cool footage. I really do buy into him and his persona and the performance, and I suspect it's not a performance at all. I suspect that's actually him. It's just him being him, and it's being filmed. And I think that's where a lot of found footage films go wrong. You've got performers in them films performing. Here, you've just got a guy being himself, genuinely, I think. And if not, then he is, he's doing a fine job in regards to acting. So I enjoyed it. There was just enough here to kind of give us a reason to return to the Blackwell house, if you like, to investigate Mrs. Blackwell a little bit more. He gets some clues given to him. He has to kind of go back and like dig up the garden to kind of find this box. And in this box is something really quite sinister, especially when you actually think about it. What he finds, it creeps him out. He's contacted by someone who is now 92, I think, who used to know her. She's like the child in the picture that you see in the Blackwell Ghost posters. So he's getting lots of bits of different information. Some of it is really, really great, and some of it is frustrating for him. But he is capturing this time round even more activity. It feels like it's getting a little bit more sinister now. But for me, I think why I don't think this is just as good as or matches the first one, and I think he's just slightly worse, in my opinion, is he doesn't seem. I mean, he was absolutely terrified about some of the events that were happening in the first film when he was staying at the house with his wife, I think it was. But this time round, some of the things that are happening in this house, for me, are far more sinister. But he doesn't seem as bothered this time round. Now that you could say that's because he's getting desensitized to it and stuff, but really, I mean, this is only like the second time he's really experienced this stuff. He made the first documentary, The Blackwell Ghost, and now he's gone back to do this. You know, it's not as if he's gone off for 5 years and done dozens of paranormal investigations. He hasn't. So it just felt a little bit too calm in some of the scenarios that he were in. Not all of them, but some of them. And they were more escalated than some of the things that you saw in the first film. But it never once, while it did feel a little bit sinister here and there, you never really felt like he was in danger. And I think that's something now that this franchise is lacking a little bit, that dangerous edge that you get sometimes with found footage. There's even moments in this film where the owner of the house, you know, is complimenting Turner by saying she's never done as much activity for anybody other than you. She must like you, that kind of stuff. Now, unless that is going to turn more sinister in the future films, maybe she's doing it because she doesn't like him. Maybe she's doing it, you know, because she wants to harm him. But I wasn't getting that impression in this film. It never felt harmful. It never felt dangerous. So therefore, you never really felt truly scared, I suppose, by watching this, which I think is why I've put it a little bit lower on the score of the first one. I do think it's a fine continuation. It feels, again, completely and utterly authentic. It does genuinely feel like you're watching like maybe one of those ghost investigations that you see on telly. It literally, that's what it feels like to me. It feels very authentic, very genuine. It doesn't feel forced. Doesn't feel like there's any performers or anything like that here. And it ticks a lot of found footage boxes. So yeah, I am definitely going to carry on with this franchise. And if you haven't started watching the Blackwell Ghost franchise yet, and you are a fan of found footage, definitely start checking these films out. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I will of course be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.